What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? I'm the Godless Engineer, and I critically analyze apologist claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you can stand up and use your voice. Today's video is a clip from The Line. If you want to catch me on The Line, I'm on there once a month to host Skept Talk. The Line also has a number of other shows that you might be interested in. So after you watch this clip today, why don't you go on over there, subscribe, and be sure to catch the next show. Next up, we've got Omar calling in. What's up there, Omar? How you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
I'm pretty good.
Good here.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I was just, I guess just to jump into it, you had, I think earlier in the show, you kind of made a statement that, everything regarding the universe can be explained via natural mechanisms. And so there's kind of no need for God. But I guess I would say I disagree with that and maybe want to go into why. Okay. So
why?
If we were to kind of, if we kind of come to the point of let's say the creation of the cosmos or, just the cosmos coming into existence, I don't think it could be explained via natural means because I believe that we must break either a space or time boundary in order to explain existence as we see it around us. And being spaceless or timeless. Well, so what that means is,
go ahead.
We have a bad lag here. I'm sorry about that. We have a couple seconds lag between us.
That's okay. Go ahead. I don't know what it means to break space and time prior to space and time existing, but I think you were about to explain that.
Sure, in a way. So what I mean by that is, for example, if we look at the cosmos around us, we could either assume that at some point in time it came into existence or that it has always been in existence. And I think we could rule out that it has always been in existence because that would essentially be calling for infinite regress, which, as far as I understand, that cannot exist in actual physics, in actual reality. It can only exist.
So let me hold on. Let me stop you right there.
I'll just hop in as the physicist. There's nothing in physics that says you can have that infinite regresses are impossible. That's a philosophical conclusion that is not necessarily held by all philosophers. In fact, there seems to be nothing incoherent about infinite regresses, and we deal with these sorts of infinities in mathematics all the time.
I see. So, I mean, if science is kind of described as what can be observed or measured or quantified, then can't we say for a fact that then infinity will never be a part of that type of science? We know that for a fact because that will never be actually observed.
Well, so let me ask this: do you have a specific God that you're arguing for?
Well, I'm a Muslim, but I would say what I'm arguing for is strictly theism. I think in order to argue my specific God, I would invoke a lot of beliefs, and I guess I'm not really trying to have a conversation about that.
That's fine, but I'm wondering, in what you're arguing for, is God eternal?
Well, okay, so I'm sorry. Let me kind of go back a bit. I guess one thing is I would say is if we kind of look at a general description of God kind of across the board, I think that certain things that all religions or forms of spirituality point to as God as being supernatural, kind of like above the natural world, and described as timeless and spaceless as being what makes him supernatural. So we say God is all seeing, which makes no sense, but if something, I guess if it's timeless and spaceless, it could make sense. Mm-hmm.
Well, so for something to be eternal, maybe Aaron can correct me on this. For something to be eternal, doesn't that mean that there is like an infinite regress?
Well, I would not apply that to God because, by definition, God is supernatural. So I would not necessarily feel that God needs to be bound by any sort of natural laws. That's kind of, I guess, the way I see it is that's kind of precisely the point of God. That's exactly what we're trying to describe.
What is it? What is it? Maybe you can explain to me. What does it mean to exist outside of time and space? Like, What like in your idea?
I can't give a coherent answer to that because that's kind of like for a human mind, that's an irrational concept. So I can't necessarily describe it. I guess the best that I can say is that I know something exists outside of time and space, and I know that.
How do you know that?
It is because, as far as I understand, it is necessary in order to explain the existence within time and space. It's not possible to remain within time and space and explain existence. I feel like one of those boundaries must be broken.
From the physics point of view, there's no necessity in physics that the universe can't be infinite. In fact, in some ways, one of the first quote unquote physicists, Aristotle, argued that the universe had to be eternal, both in the past and the future. While Aristotle isn't exactly a modern scientist, there are still plenty of cosmology models that also have a universe that is in some form past infinite as well as being future infinite. So there's nothing in physics that makes that a requirement. So to say it's not possible for that to exist in nature, you would be telling a lot of physicists that their models don't actually exist, yet they're in dozens of published papers.
Well, at least the way I understand time, in a linear fashion, if we make the claim that an infinite time interval preceded today, wouldn't that mean then we should never reach today? Like we should never, if an infinite number of events preceded today, should not have this event then never happened because we still have to wait for those infinite number of events to take place already? Well,
no. I mean that would mean that the current time is always infinitely in the future at the same time that we're experiencing it. Like I don't understand like what you're trying to describe here, because regardless of whether or not there's an infinite past, we're currently experiencing our present. So I don't know why you would say that, the present is always infinitely in the future. Like we wouldn't have experienced it yet, or we wouldn't have gotten to this point yet. I mean, regardless of the eternalness of the past, but still, I feel like you haven't really answered, like, if you believe that God is eternal, whether that's existing outside of our universe, outside of space time or not, doesn't that also mean that he exists eternally, like in the past? Like, and I don't even know how to measure time outside of space time, but whatever here, we're just throwing shit at the wall, I guess. But like, doesn't that mean, like, can't you use that exact same argument for your God? Like, shouldn't, like, if God exists eternally in the past, should we not even be in the present now because God's eternally in the past or some shit? Like,
well, I guess it's, we kind of describe God as existing outside of space and time. So for me, I guess I kind of just label it as irrational. Like, okay, this is just like an irrational aspect of God that we as humans cannot comprehend.
I don't know if you mean the term in that way, because you'd be suggesting your belief in God is by definition irrational, and I don't think that's what you want to say.
Well, I think the concept of God at its core is essentially understanding that there does exist something in this quote unquote dimension which we find irrational as humans, just because it's kind of outside of our ability of perception.
Again, I think then in that case, we just want to be careful with terms, because when I say something is irrational, that means your conclusion doesn't really follow from your premises or from the evidence you provide. And I think you want to be saying that your belief in God is rational, because if you're saying your belief is based on something irrational, you're basically saying we have every reason not to believe you, that you're the irrational, crazy person who we might have to wonder, do we need to put you in a padded room? And I don't think that's what you want to say about your beliefs.
Well, I guess I could say my belief is rational in the sense that I can deduce that nature cannot create itself, at least.
How have you deduced that? Maybe we can get back to the original thing here. You wanted to prove that nature cannot produce itself, or that this universe couldn't have inflated by itself. So what is your evidence that suggests that?
I guess part of it is I'm kind of attaching. I wish I wrote some of this down. When I say nature cannot create itself, I mean we have to step outside of space and time. And I'm kind of defining nature or natural as being within space and time. And I guess the reason I'm doing that is because, in science is what us humans can observe and measure, and anything outside of space and time will never fall into the realm of science because we will never be able to observe or measure infinity or nothing because, these are just concepts, as far as I understand. I know you said in physics they make mathematical models based on infinity. I did see a video. There's another physicist named Sabine Hossenfelder, and she kind of made a video talking about why she essentially, I guess, agrees with what I said, that we should not consider infinity in these models for the fact that we will never be able to observe infinity, and so it kind of does not exist in the world of science.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, Sabine Hofstetter. Yeah, I also follow the YouTube channel. I don't remember that particular video, but what we can say is if such and such is infinite in scope, what sorts of observations could fall from it. So, for example, if the universe is of infinite spatial extent, this actually has consequences for the things we're going to measure, because ultimately that's a question of what is the geometry of the universe itself. And that geometry, when I say geometry, the shape of space and time is explained by general relativity. That's actually something that cosmologists have been studying and trying to more carefully measure for decades. And so far, our measurements are consistent with a universe that has a shape that we would call flat, which would mean that basically it goes off in all directions forever. So in a sense, our universe is infinite, or that infinite universe is consistent with current observations. And that is scientific. That is something we say, here's what our model would predict if this is true. So far, our observations are consistent with it. So we can say that it is at least scientifically justified to take this sort of position. And there might also be theoretical reasons to also take this, that this is best explained from our theoretical understandings from X, Y, and Z.
Also, Omar, I'm just kind of wondering if it would be possible for you to steelman a natural explanation for the universe. I mean, I would ask for the most likely explanation as, the most popular one right now, but could you steelman one natural explanation? Omar, are you there?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we got you now.
Oh, cool. All right, perfect. Yeah, I think we got cut off. I wanted to, I just reiterate the point you had made to me. It seemed like essentially you were saying that as of today, they use, I'm sorry, we might have actually moved on from that. I kind of forgot where we were exactly.
Well, I was just wondering if you could steelman your understand, steelman any kind of natural explanation for the inflation of the universe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll give you my take on that. I feel like, both atheists or theists, I think regardless of what we are, I think it's kind of like shit just came into existence. Just out the clear blue sky, shit just popped into existence. And I don't know if theism or atheism is necessarily a question of science. I almost feel like the difference between us is, as theists, we kind of ascribe a purpose or a consciousness to this event, which, just gave rise to the cosmos around us as we see it. Whereas maybe atheists see it maybe just as more of a mechanical type of thing. So, I don't know. I guess that's my explanation is shit just came to be. And, I happen to be a theist. I feel like there is something that we may not understand right now, but we will kind of understand it later. But, that's just what I think. I'm a Muslim and I was born into that religion. So, I've stuck with it and that's kind of my belief system.
Well, do you understand how your whole idea there is really lacking in the details, as far as a natural explanation goes? Because there's a lot of different ideas about how this universe could have come into existence, and all of them have explanations behind them. So just this sort of random popping into existence without any further explanation as to why that happened is not what the scientific, not scientific theories, but scientific hypotheses are. Yeah,
I guess, one thing that I read about as an explanation of the universe is they were talking about, I want to say it was these kind of blocks of space used to exist almost in a timeless state, which happened to change forms, and it so happened to change to a particular form which gave rise to time, which is really interesting, but it's a little tough for me to maybe grasp exactly what that means. But it's something I read about and haven't really dove into. Maybe I should or would like to dive into something like that and just get a better understanding of what it is they're trying to say.
Okay, so we started your conversation off by saying that you have evidence that the universe couldn't have inflated just naturally. And the only thing that we seem to have heard from you is just this presumption that it can't, not like that you actually have evidence or any kind of explanation or argument that actually shows that it can't. You just presume that it can't.
I see. I guess because maybe we disagree about having an infinite timeline precede us. And so my thing would somewhat kind of rely on that. That's why I feel so strongly that one of these bounds must be broken, which is essentially the basis for, how I kind of see things.
I don't understand how an infinite past works for you.
No, an infinite past kind of nullifies what I'm saying here, because I'm saying that's not a possibility. And given that it's not a possibility, we must therefore. But
you're proposing, but you understand that you're proposing an infinite past when you say that your God is eternally existing.
No, well, God does not. Time does not necessarily apply to God. Like God exists outside
Did
space.
God have a starting point? Was there a point where God started to exist?
No, that's not a.
Then God is eternal.
Yeah, we can say that.
Okay, which has the exact same problems that you're saying that an eternal past has.
No, because an eternal past of a natural universe would need to abide by natural laws and fall within like natural laws.
Okay, so
there's no natural law
solution
that says you can't have an infinite regression of things. So if you're going to say breaking the laws of nature, I'm going to point out there's nothing in the laws of nature that says this can't be done. The only way that I have seen anyone try to make that argument has been more on philosophical or metaphysical grounds, that it's somehow logically or metaphysically impossible, which is not the same thing as the laws of nature don't allow it as if it's some sort of scientific fact. Because I got a whole bunch of physics textbooks around my living space here. None of them have that as a law of physics.
Yeah, I got you. But I guess when I understand time in a linear fashion, so let's say we call this phone call event A, and I tell you right now, after an infinite number of time, event A will occur. If I ask you when event A will occur, you will tell me it will never occur. So if event A is this phone call, you're an infinite.
Well, let's apply that same logic to the Almighty. Let's go with this. So at some time in the past, God decided to create the universe. And scientifically, this is 13.8 billion years ago. All right. So let's just assume that's the case. Did God have a thought before creating the universe?
I mean, I can't. I'm a human, so I want to point out one thing in my religion, in Islam. God is kind of explained as something that if God were to even present himself in front of our face right now, we would not really comprehend. We wouldn't even see him. So you're asking me questions about that.
Wait, did you hold on? You literally said that if God visually presented himself to us, we would not be able to visually see him.
Well, not if he visually presented himself to us. I'm just saying that if what the point being made is that the human mind just can't comprehend because we cannot comprehend spacelessness or timelessness. We can just understand it as a concept, but that's not. I don't know. The way I feel like you're kind of being incoherent at this point because I feel like I pointed out the flaw in your whole idea that the universe can't be naturally occurring, even if we consider an infinite past to be there. So, I don't know. We do have other calls to get to, but I really appreciate you calling back in there, Omar, so that we can finish out our conversation. Yeah, man. No, I appreciate you guys. I enjoy the conversation. And at least the way I see it is it seems we disagree about the infinite past, which is what my argument rests on. And but that's cool. yeah, we could disagree. That's fine. But yeah, appreciate it, guys. You guys have a good one.
All right. See you later there, Omar.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Well, that was an interesting thing. I'm glad that he was able to call back, though.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed that we couldn't have a little bit more conversation about God's thought process, because even if God is completely timeless, I could still ask the question about God having a thought before creating, and if then in that case, could God have a thought before that thought and can create the exact same infinite regress as everything else? So even without time, all the same numerical problems would exist. And if that's not a problem for the Almighty, it can't be a logical problem for stuff.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, you're not factoring in magic. It's got to be, I mean, that's the one thing. You draw a cloud in the sky and you say magic, and that's how you explain shit, right?
Even magic needs to at least be logically coherent, because even if I go and read Harry Potter, I expect words to mean the same thing from one page to the next.
What's up, Heathen? Thank you so much for checking out this clip from The Line. If you enjoyed this clip today, you can get more of it by subscribing to The Line. So hit up those links in the description so you can catch me the next time I host Skept Talk. I don't know, was that 20 seconds? Here's some filler shit for, to fill out the 20 seconds. I don't know. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy.